Greetings Autobots, and welcome back. Tonight we're continuing on with our Armada streak, and we're going to take a look at a figure which, for many, is considered to be the worst Transformer that has ever been made. Now, I don't normally look at figures that are considered bad on this show, but seeing as I'm doing an Armada binge, and I've just had this figure sitting in my collection for a while, I think now it's about time we really put this guy on the hot seat and see just if this guy is truly as bad as people say he is, or if he has some redeeming qualities. So without further ado, this is the Transformers Armada Sideswipe. Now this figure takes the form of a sort of stylized sedan car, so a more generic kind of car, no real flashy tampograph. Well, I say that, but he kind of goes against the whole robots in disguise thing because he has Transformers tampographed right on his windshield. But the figure itself in vehicle mode looks pretty good. It feels chunky like most of the other Armada figures. It's good hand candy. It's a really nice colour. I especially like the little headlight detail on the bumper. And the multiple Autobot insignias. They're a bit gaudy, but the thing is, some of this stuff isn't even accurate to the show model. Like, if I recall correctly, this isn't even in, like, this for a fact just isn't in the show. This Transformers thing sitting right there. And if you look close, you can actually kind of see his head sticking out there. So there's that too. But yeah, the vehicle mode's not that bad. It's just, some people don't like the fact that it's plain, but honestly, I like it. I like the whole robots in disguise motif, so you think them choosing more generic cars would be more beneficial for their mission. But, like other Armada figures, Sideswipe comes with a partner minicon, but I don't have them on me. Well, if you press this little button on the back, it flips out the back of the car, revealing his partner minicon, Nightbeat. So, we'll get stuck in with Nightbeat. Nightbeat takes the form of a little tiny motorcycle. You can see there's some nice detail. The little tailpipes there, casting a yellowy orange plastic. Some nice detailing across the body of the motorcycle. Overall, just not bad motorcycle mode. It's fun size, tiny, just, it looks pleasant. So, what about that robot mode? Yeah, it kind of sucks. I'm not gonna be trying to be like, oh, it's lovely, it's great. But if something's bad, I'm gonna say it's bad. But to transform, incredibly simple, like other mini cons. Just take these little bits, swing them down, collapse this, bring this down, lift this up, and just rotate this all the way around. Bring this down and back. And that's Nightbeat in his robot mode. It's incredibly simple. There's no real look to the robot. It doesn't even look like it's transformed. It flat, it looks unfinished. The only posability you have is a little wiggle at the arms. The legs are individually moving, and the neck itself can actually move. So surprisingly, he's decent in the posability department, but as a robot, especially as a minicon, this guy just does not look good. He's just too unfinished looking. He doesn't look like he's actually transformed. He just looks like he's had a few bits mixed around. He looks like one of those car commercials where they have a transformer, like just a generic transformer that doesn't do anything or look like a real transformer. But we'll just put him back into his motorcycle mode. Simple enough. Just undo everything, collapse the wheel back up, flip these in the way. Because, like, the thing is, I'm reviewing this from the mindset of the fun factor, like the other Armada figures, but also from the point of, because, you know, it's like, you can't just have a figure that's not good and not say anything about it. I feel like that'd be disingenuous to my, I don't want to say my show, it sounds a bit pretentious, but my whole shtick. You can't even stand up. Okay, Nightbeat, we'll just set you off here if you can stand. No? Okay, we'll just prop you up against the wall there when you're needed. You can hold the button, bring that back in, just plug that in. Now, Sideswipe has another gimmick in vehicle mode, And to access it or activate it, you press down on the Autobot insignia on the bonnet of the car. And you get what I think is called the dragster mode. Now, he does this in the show, but it looks really dumb. There's no real consistency to it. You've just got this big gaping hole in the chassis of the car, and the rest of it just kind of awkwardly hangs off. It's really not that good. I hate to be so negative, but it's just not the best. But the robot mode, we'll talk more about the robot mode. To transform, we'll just keep this out for the time being. Bring this down so it allows the head and the upper body to come through. Take these panels here and just collapse them against what will be the legs. Take the head and just push it forward on that joint. Separate the arms, rotate the forearm and collapse this piece in. You just bring that up for the time being just to get out of the way. Same thing on the other side, bring that up, collapse it in, rotate around, bring this down, and if you just bring it down, it will peg into place. Now you're going to want to flip down the toes, just like that. Oh, you're going to want to free this bit up, so just activate that gimmick, unpeg the legs, and just bring the legs down the way, and straighten everything out. And there you have Sideswipe in his robot mode. It's okay. It's honestly, it could be way worse. It's definitely not like the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely not great either. It's very kibbly. It just kind of feels like he's wearing the car, not so much that he's transformed. I know there's a part of me that likes it, but then there's a part of me that just, these big bits here just hanging off. If it was just these bits, I could live with that, but there's no articulation of these. Even a little hinge right here that just lets you flip that over so it fills in this gap and a bit of the shin. That would go a long way in filling in the look of the figure, but it just kind of looks ugly with these big tumorous pauldrons hanging off. Though the colour plastic is at least kind of nice. Good honeycomb shade. Let's take a closer look at Sideswipe's details, because he actually has quite a nice colour palette. I really do dig this design for Sideswipe, even if it doesn't look anything like his G1 Contemporary. Nice Autobot insignia there on the chest. It's almost like a little button. Well, it functions as a button in the vehicle mode. But see some molded in fists. I think they're 5mm compatible, and there is a sort of punch feature. If you press this button, I think here, you can kind of have them deck you with the hood of the car, which is pretty cool. You know, I can't lie, it is a bit of a novelty to it. It's a fun fidget toy. It's not really a good transformer, but it's something that's just fun to flip back and forth. So I'm kind of reviewing it on that merit, but I'm still going to point out my criticisms because overall this figure is pretty disappointing. Feels weird talking negative about a figure, but hey, supposedly it's a bit of a palate cleanser. So we'll talk posability and then gimmicks. Sideswipe is very, very limited. He has nothing at the head. It can move back and forward for transformation. You have a full ratcheted rotation here, about restricted bend at the elbow there. You can go back that far. You can rotate. That's about it. Same on the other side. Swivel at the elbow for rotation. Gets impeded by these pieces. Can move the legs back that far. And you can do a full split and forward that far. Nothing at the knee and nothing at the toe. So posability is kind of bad. It's really not that special. It's just kind of, it's a brick. It's a glorified brick, which wouldn't be that big of a deal considering it's an Armada figure. But this figure was so clearly designed gimmicks first, and that really sort of scuppers the posability and just some of the play factor. You can't really get him into many dynamic poses. The most dynamic thing you could get him into is maybe something like a running pose, but even then it just looks really uncomfortable with his big clear dong hanging out. He just kind of looks, it looks like he's had an uncomfortable shite and he's just trying to get to the bathroom. He's got the face of one too. Yep, we're really hitting the highbrow humor tonight, folks. This is the thinking man's channel. Oh boy, so dear. So, mini-con gimmicks, as before, and as mentioned before with other Transformers Armada figures, Sideswipe has multiple mini-con ports and one main mini-con gimmick. So we'll just grab Nightbeat and plug him in to this little port on the back of his head. Now, if I recall correctly, the best position to have it in would be so the front end of the bike is facing down, and what this does is it initiates a Buzz Lightyear-esque punching feature. If it, so you just kind of bring that up the way. It's maybe I'm just, oh, there we go. Just have to push in a wee bit. So he's got like a sort of karate chop action, or he's just waving. He's just trying to wave a taxi down. He's like, hey, 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 Sunstreaker, you can give me a ride? So yeah, Minicon play factor, really not that much to it either. So it's definitely one of the weakest figures that I've ever looked at in pretty much every aspect. The transformation's at least fun. It's simple and fun, but that's really the only thing that I can really praise this figure on. If you are an Armada completionist, I'd say, yeah, if you can get him for cheap, definitely don't pay too much for him. He's not worth like big bucks. Sorry about that, Sideswipe. I don't make the rules. But if you ever find him for cheap and you're an Armada completionist, pick him up. You know, he's a harmless little fidget toy, and as a Transformer, he's not the worst thing ever made. I'll give him that. Just take a swig of my gamer juice. Analyzed. So that about wraps up Sideswipe's robot mode, so we'll close out the video with the reverse transformation. Much like the first one, it is pretty fun and easy. Just everything clicks into place satisfyingly and makes for some good toy sounds. See, it helps to kind of have these bits out the way so you know what you're doing, because the arms fit into these grooves under this panel. So just plug that in and we'll just collapse these pieces in and tap them together. Make sure the feet are flipped in. Take this whole front section here and unpack it and bring it up the way. Collapse the feet in the way. Let's see, am I doing something wrong? Oh, no. You just have to make sure it's angled right. Plug the feet together, hold this little button in, flip this panel in, give it a wee squeeze just to make sure it's tightened up. Now take these panels, bring them around, and kind of angle the head so they clear. But they will fit into a little slot right there, these two clear tabs. Give it a squeeze, make sure everything's nice and connected. And there you have Sideswipe and his partner Minicon Nightbeat. Okay, well, if you're not even going to stand for your outro, I'll sentence you to the car boot of shame. That's where you will sit for all eternity. Plug him in and seal him away, where he will never be found again. That about wraps it up for this video. I apologise if this was more negative in comparison to my other videos. I wanted to review this figure and I said I would, so I wanted to be honest about my feelings for it, but I still find him fun. He's not good, don't get me wrong, but for the novelty of it, he's far from the worst Transformer ever. I'd rather have a Transformer that's simple and fun to transform rather than one that's super complicated and no fun to transform, because the whole point of a Transformer is you transform it, and this guy, he's at least fun to transform. I will give him that. But that about does it for this video. Next, I will be looking at Scavenger and his Minicom partner, Rollbar. It'll be a much more positive video, so stay tuned for that one, folks. Until then, this is Autobot ASMR, signing off for the night. Autobots, transform and roll out to bed. Till all are one. Oh, you're not all bad, big lad. You're the misunderstood Transformer of the fandom. You know, you have a place in my collection, you daft, big, blue brick of a thing.